need.
Good.
Okay. I'm sorry, but I had a good tip last week, and I forgot it because you interrupted me, but I had my tip for the week.
So don't say it now.
I have to say it now because I'm going to forget it. Like I'm not
No,
writing
at
it down.
the end of the show is tip of the
Then
week.
you can edit it. I don't give a fuck.
No.
Anyway.
No, not yet. Ahoy! This is your captain speaking, Greg Michael of Pinnacle Marine Group, Marine Surveyors, and welcome aboard the Nauit Buoys Boat Show. I'm joined by Captain Happy, Glenn Shadbolt, Marine Mechanic and Shipwright, and aboard this vessel, we talk everything about boats, the build, the mechanics, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We go where the seas take us. The topics will be endless. Electronics, marinas, restaurants, vacations, cruising and fishing. Our show includes live callers with real questions. Let's fare these waters together. Call 772-773-2600 every Tuesday between 5 and 5:30 p.m. Eastern. If you're a guest or a caller, you certainly are naughty. Ahoy, and welcome to the Nauit Buoys Boat Show. I'm your host, Captain Greg Michael, Marine Surveyor, and sitting next to me is our beloved Captain Happy, Glenn Shadbolt, Marine Mechanic and Shipwright. And if you're a guest or a caller, you certainly are naughty. Say hi, Glenn.
Hi, Glenn.
Okay. Oh, we're so glad to have Glenn here. But listen, some quick introductions. We do have a great guest, world famous, by the way, Florida bow thrusters. So we have Ian Dils. He's the Director of Sales and Operations for Florida bow thrusters. Say hi, Ian.
How you doing, guys? Happy to be here.
Oh, good. Good. He's happy. So if you don't know already, Florida bow thrusters does like all the bow thrusters, right? So
We do a lot of them.
yeah.
A lot.
So, I was a surveyor in New York for 28 years. You guys would come to New York all the time and do bow thrusters.
Yep. Anywhere from Florida to Maine over to Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri.
Wow.
We'll take care of you.
Wow. Okay. So when I say world famous, I mean every boat that I surveyed had a Florida bow thruster installation. So, and you guys do it right. I could just tell you that right off the bat. You guys definitely do it right. At the beginning of the show here, let's tell people how to get in touch with Florida Bow Thrusters website, email, phone number. Go for it.
Absolutely. So you can reach us at the office at any time, 321-453-7070. Online, through social media, Facebook, Instagram, at Florida Bow Thrusters. Or you can send me an email personally, ian@floridabowthrusters.com.
All right, good. So you guys know how to get in touch with them, and sounds good. So Ian came in today, and he had a big smile on his face. I think that smile was the Florida Panthers won their first Stanley Cup.
Oh, yeah. You saw Verhage and Reinhardt both got a goal last night.
That's right. So I was a little nervous. So let me tell you my background. I'm a New York Rangers fan. I was very disappointed that Florida had to go through the Rangers to get there, but it would have been easier for me to root for them if they didn't have to go through the Rangers. But I now live in Florida, so I have to adapt, right?
Oh, yeah.
When in Rome.
When in Rome.
Right. So, once the Rangers were out of it, sadly, who was going to be my team? Canadian or Florida?
Florida, man.
Got to be Florida.
You're here, you got to vote for him.
Right. So I was glad to see Florida win. Edmonton scared They
gave them a run for their money. I mean, I thought they were going to sweep it in the beginning, and then it went south very quickly. So
yeah, I mean, how do you go from 3-0 and Edmonton just comes back like?
I thought it was over after the second, or especially the third one. I was like, well, boys, this is it. And then last night, they pulled through in the clutch. They did what they had to do. So
I'm glad they won. I'm glad they finally got their cup. Now next year, just move over because the New York Rangers need to, they need another cup. But I'll tell you, Reinhardt impressed me. He's got, I think he's got 57 goals this year.
He's a stud. He's definitely the man on the ice out there.
But it's like any other team. They'll trade him sooner or later. And
unfortunately, that's just how it goes in that kind of league. Yeah. Hopefully not to the Rangers.
No, not to the Rangers, but rebuild. That's all I ever hear. So, okay, once again, congratulations to all the Florida Panther fans and to the Florida Panthers. First Stanley Cup, and felt really good. I mean, it was good. And there goes Glenn's beer. Okay, that means we're ready to start the show.
We're ready to start? Okay, all right.
He doesn't want to hear hockey. He wants to talk boats. So I always start the show with a little joke. Glenn doesn't like them, but I still do them. I don't pretend to be a comedic.
Joke, pun, whatever it is.
Okay.
Don't quit your daytime job.
Don't
That's
quit
all
my
about
day
it.
job. All right. So we're going to give you a little naughty joke here. Ready? All right. Two fish swim side by side up a river. When they swim smack straight into a concrete wall, one fish turns to the other and says, "Damn." No?
Some pretty stupid fucking fish. I go out all day. I got bait. I got hooks. I can't get no fish, but the stupidest fish I run into the wall. Don't come by my hook. No. Okay. Anyway,
You can't even catch them.
I couldn't catch a fish at an aquarium.
You know, is that why I saw you at SeaWorld with a pole?
No, I just.
Yeah, poor Glenn. All right, so...
Fishing's just an excuse to drink beer and drift in the ocean for 4 hours.
yeah.
And if I don't catch anything, I don't have to clean anything.
Not a bad way to spend the afternoon.
Right. What's the old saying? Like, the best day at work is like the worst day at fitness.
Yeah.
Whatever that saying is, yeah. So, all right. So, in just a minute, we're going to talk to Ian about bow thrusters and everything in the industry about bow thrusters. And then we're going to have a call-in question and answer segment. Just to let you know, the call-in number again is 772-773-2600. That's for live callers. You can call into the show, ask us any questions. You can ask Ian a question about bow thrusters. You can ask me a question about surveying. I'm still surveying boats here in Southeast Florida. And you can ask Glenn, Captain Happy, about any mechanical questions, and we'll be glad to take your calls and answer any questions. So, all right, let's get right into it.
Let's go.
All right, so start from the beginning, Ian. How did Florida bow thrusters even come about?
So our founder, Tom Gillikin, was one of the yacht executives at Sea Ray and Merritt Island at the time. Selling these larger boats, no bow thrusters. You know, obviously he saw the need where people were requesting those. Hey, this is something available. Can you guys put them in at the factory? And something at the time, Sea Ray, most builders weren't willing to do because it takes a lot of money to retool the mold, to incorporate that thruster tunnel, et cetera, et cetera. So he saw that opportunity, jumped on it, and Florida Bow Thrusters began from a single 10x10 bay garage in Cape Canaveral, Florida.
And what year was that?
That was right back in around 2000. We became fully independent 2001, and we've been doing it 100% ever since. Bow thrusters is our bread and butter. So, you know, we don't get into anything else. We do a little bit of underwater lights if you'd like that during the installation, but bow thrusters is the main thing we focus on.
And the underwater lights are more expensive than the freaking bow thrusters.
Sometimes they are, yeah.
But they only last 2 years. Meanwhile, your bow thruster.
Yeah, you know, bow thruster, you're looking at 10 to 15, but you know, the underwater lights are a nice add-on. It's good for people that while they're out of the water, we can pop them in for them without having to have another contractor come in and do all that kind of stuff. So it works out really well.
You guys also do swim platforms.
Absolutely, yeah. The hydraulic swim platform. So what's something a lot of people don't know is we actually went into the factory at Sea Ray and Merritt Island back in the day and did a lot of their installations of these General Hydraulic platforms as the manufacturer. And so what basically they're at a... Freedom Lift is another one out of Merritt Island, but they're not what we use. We use some
What
of
do you use?
General Hydraulic Solutions. They're out of Clearwater.
Okay.
So it's like
And it's better than that system?
What, in my opinion, the big difference is the General Hydraulics. They use 2 pistons, one for each set of arms, and then the Sea Lift, they use 1 piston in the center that operates the whole thing. So the GHS, you get a little bit of more, you get more oomph for your dollar out of it because you can lift up a heavier dinghy, things like that.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about the company. How many employees?
We have about 16 employees. That's including the owners who are still very much involved in everything today. Tom, Debbie, and Carter, the Gillikin family, they're involved in the everyday, day-to-day operations of the business.
Okay. And so you will travel. I mean, you'll go.
We go, like I said in the beginning, we go from Key West up to Maine, over to Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri. Anywhere in between, we'll be happy to help you out. Get your boat hauled out for us 2 to 3 days. Got a brand new bow thruster. You never know we were there.
So what do you do? Do you try to set up 4, 5, 6 boats in that area, or will you go for just one boat?
No. So the way that we work, so we don't have to charge anybody travel time, which is like what a lot of marine companies will do. They'll charge you an additional travel fee. We'll book 5 or 6 boats together in that one region, whether it be a tri-state region or a path up 95.
Right.
You know, we'll hit one after another over a 2 to 3 week period. So that way we're efficient, 2 to 3 days, like we said, and no travel cost, anything like that.
Right. Good. And let's talk about you for a minute.
Yeah.
So you look like a young guy.
Yes, sir.
All right. And but you got a big title.
Yeah.
So that impressed me.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah. So I started with Florida Bow Thrusters back in 2017 in their parts department. You know, taking orders at the desk, learning the ins and outs of everything. Started breaking things down on the bow thruster, learning how to repair them. Did some installations, some service calls, things like that. Kind of just entwined myself in the company and the bow thruster environment. And from there, just kind of worked my way up until where I'm at now.
Great. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Good career. So where are you from originally?
Originally, I was born in Rockledge, Florida, in Brevard County, where we're based in Florida Bow Thrusters is based, just across the bridge on the inland side.
Okay. So you guys are up in Merritt Island.
Yeah, Merritt Island, Florida. We've been there since 2001. That's our home base. All of our crews are based locally there in Brevard, and they distribute from our office. So we don't subcontract anybody. Everybody's our direct employee.
Yeah, and so when I went to your website, I did a little research, and so you guys got it all. You got the fiberglass techs, you got the electricians, you got the installs, you got everything.
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. So we have a 2-man crew. Basically, one guy's an electrician, one guy's a fiberglass tech. They'll show up. When the boat's on the hard, we'll go ahead while one guy's cutting the hole, doing all the fiberglass work. The other technician's going to be running those wires, getting your battery set up, all that kind of stuff.
All right, and that drill to make that tube hole.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it on your website. Is that something you guys created, or is that a bought tool?
We kind of custom created it. Basically, the concept came from a concrete core saw, basically to cut holes for dryer vents and things like that. And we worked with the custom manufacturer to make it our custom size is what we need for the bow thruster tunnels. So we're able to cut the hole with the hole saw with the mandle in it. You drill your pilot hole, you get your mandle perfectly level across the boat, and then you can punch right through it with that core saw. Instead of a day and a half, 2 days of cutting the hole, it takes about 20-30 minutes.
Wow. All right, so give me there's got to be problems. So you got all, listen, I survey boats, right? There's cord bottoms, there's solid bottoms, there's old Hatterases that are 2 inches thick.
Yeah.
So you got all these different kind of boats.
I can tell you a million problems.
You installed.
No, so I have my 30 Allura Classic, and somebody put the tube in for me. I put my own bow thruster in, and my boat's 30 foot, so I didn't want to spend money. So I found the unit that said it was rated for 30 feet, and if I'm at the dock and there's a wind hole me on the dock,
Can't come off.
I can't come off the dock. And before I put the bow thruster in, it used to just go through the waves, and I would never feel anything. I put the thruster in because I have no teardrops. I feel the pang, 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 pang.
You're hearing that whole slap of that water hitting the backside of that tunnel.
Cool. What does it cost to add teardrops?
So if you have a displacement hole or something like that where you're not really getting on a plane, where the bow thruster tunnel is out of the water while on a plane, what we'll do is we'll put a nice fair on the front side. So you get that fairing out to smooth it out with the hull, and that allows the water pressure to bounce around that front side and avoid the back of the tunnel and hit the hull rather than the tunnel.
Right.
So it cuts down a lot on the cavitation. It cuts down a lot on the noise, like you said, and it gives you just a better performance. It actually saves your propeller as well.
And it's going to give them maybe a knot or two, right?
No, you really don't mind. You really don't notice a whole lot of speed from the thruster installation, especially if you're on a power boat, maybe on a sailboat. You may notice a quarter, maybe a half a knot if you don't have that flare. But when you add that flare, it sends the water right around that tunnel, and you don't have to worry about it.
Right. Well, you could call them, Glenn, and certainly see what it'll cost to hook you up there because.
Well, what I'm just trying to say is, I was a mechanic for 50 years, and I was like, I'll just have a guy put the tube in, and, if you think you can install it yourself, you could,
Yeah.
I didn't get it 100%. So the height, too, if it's not, does the height meant with the thrust, if it was lower, would it give me more thrust? Does depth really matter?
So manufacturer specs, whatever manufacturer the thruster is, it requires half the tunnel diameter beneath the waterline. So if you have an 8-inch tunnel, you got to be at a minimum of 4 inches. Now at 4 inches, you might still get a little bit of cavitation. So
if it's rough, that's what the problem I have sometimes. When it's rough, I'm coming in, the wind picks up. I'm trying to get the bow over. Now it's windy. I'm sucking air. How's this going to work out?
So technically, that tunnel should have been a little bit deeper in that boat just to try to avoid that. Typically, you like to get it as deep as possible to where you just have enough drainage underneath that tunnel to allow.
The thing is, once you put the tunnel in, it's done. It's not like something else you're working on, and it's like, well, we could change it. Once you drill that hole, it's game over.
Well, it's a big hole. I mean,
yeah, depending on the boat, it's pretty big, but and it's fiberglass. Anything can be patched, and
it's all Tupperware, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So take us through the process. I just spoke to you earlier about different hull types, corings. You got balsa core, you got foam core, you got solid glass, you got all these. So take us through the process of start to finish. You show up, you got your big drill.
Yep.
And what do you do?
So basically, we'll show up at your marina. You have the boat ready for us when we're there. We'll get in. We'll take our measurements. Measure twice, cut once. Yeah. And so from that point, we drill a pilot hole with a small 1/2-inch bit. From there, the larger mandrel bit comes in, which is about 2 inches. You cut it straight across, and then your hole saw comes in and cores it all out. From there, you've got, depending on the core, sometimes you've got balsa core, and if it's still good core, we'll leave it in there. We'll glass, right to that to keep the hull original. But sometimes on these older boats, your older trawlers, things like that, you find a wet core in there. Right. So sometimes with that wet core, we'll dig that out, typically until we can find some kind of dry, and then go ahead and glass straight glass to glass, so you don't get any kind of delamination in the future due to that wet core.
So you're segregating, basically.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then now how do you put the tube in? How does that stay in?
So that tube, once you cut that hole, you slide that tube in. It's got somewhere between about 1/8 of a clearance, all the way around tolerance, and then from there it gets put in with a fairing putty, like an AdTech P77, high strength underwater putty. That just gets in there to hold it in basically until we can get in there and do all the glass over that. So on the inside you get 1708. On the outside you also get 1708 along with some chop strand, so that you've got structure and strength on both inside and outside of the tube.
Okay, good. So now you fair it all in. It's basically glued and fiberglass thin.
Correct. So the tunnel gets glued in with that putty, which is a marine grade underwater strength putty, and after that it gets faired, glassed in, re-faired after the glass, and then whether you've got bottom paint or gel coat, we can either prep it for your bottom job while you're out, which we'll put the epoxy barrier coat on there, so that when the yard comes in, they're ready to just paint right over it. Or if you have a full finished boat still from the factory, we'll blend that gel coat right back in. We'll get matching gel coat from the factory, spray it on, sand and buff it all the way to where you don't even know we're there.
Okay, so let's just get off subject for a second. So you have new boats from the factory, Sea Rays, all these other brands. Are they calling Florida bow thrusters to do them?
Absolutely. So we work with multiple OEMs where we do installations at the factory. Cigarette Racing, Chris Craft Boats, Parker Boats, Sensation, MTI, just to name a few.
So you'll travel to these different factories and you'll install right there.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Now, in their molds, though, now I see these boats come out of molds. They have the imprint for the bow thruster, so it's pretty brainless for you guys. Just drill there.
Well, a lot of the times the mold, the boats from the factory, sometimes they'll have that in the mold. one of the biggest challenges we see is a lot of times they shape that tunnel into the top side and then just glue a plug on the bottom side. And then you see those seam lines of the plexus and things where they've glued that bottom plug, which isn't really part of the hull, just kind of glued in there. And we see some issues with that from boats from the factory. And a lot of times we get calls to come and repair those, where we'll grind that back, fiberglass it all in to make it one piece of the hull again.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So now the tube goes in, but the tube doesn't have all the holes and everything in it. You got to drill all that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The tube is just a straight fiberglass structural tube. Depending on the size of the boat, somewhere between 4 to 8 millimeters thick. And so that, it's honestly like adding a bulkhead into your boat. It doesn't.
It's thicker than the hull of the boat.
A lot of the times.
Because I put that, it is one.
A lot of the times, yeah, a lot of the modern boats, they're very thin glass with a core in the middle. And sometimes that thruster tube is the thickest part of the boat. And like I said, we glassed it from hull side to hull side. It's like adding a bulkhead. It doesn't affect the integrity of your hull. It actually strengthens up the bow.
Nice. So now you drill into the tube, and what? You put the motor in?
Yeah, we mount that tube in there and get it all mounted correctly. We'll mount that motor. You drill a handful of holes for the drive leg shaft to come through the tunnel. It all gets screwed in, and the motor mounts on top of that with a flexible coupling in between. So from there, you mount that motor, connect all your battery cables, and you're ready to go.
All right. So give me, and then an electrician comes in. He does all the electrical, batteries, all this other stuff, to the chargers, everything. So, So that all happens.
Full turnkey installation. When basically, with rare exceptions, when we leave, the boat's ready to go back in the water. There's nothing else that needs to be done.
Cool.
There's a handful of exceptions where maybe the floor is so low to the hull of the boat that it might protrude through the deck, so they have to get a custom cover, but we'll warn you about that.
Okay.
Previously.
So do you try to keep, so each installation is different. Can you mount the batteries in the front for that, or do you have to try to run battery cable? Because I couldn't,
on boats that require their own independent battery, like a thruster system that requires its own independent.
Don't they all?
Not all of them. No, absolutely not. And some of the smaller ones on the smaller boats, they don't need a battery. It can get tied into your engine crank battery.
Yeah, but if you have a stern drive with an EFI, if you get below 9 volts, the motor's going to shut down.
Yeah, but
so if you don't have, I'm sorry.
No, understand. Absolutely. That's a very valid question.
Because if I hook up the power trim wire, when you hit the drive, if I put that wire wrong, I can make the motor stall.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying. Voltage drop is a big.
It is, absolutely. So on these smaller boats where they don't require their own independent battery, what we do is we run it straight to an engine crank battery. So that battery is constantly getting charged with a 13 plus from the alternator. So when you're never using your thruster with the battery off. So you coming into the slip, why aren't you using your thruster to get in nice and safe? You shut your motor off. That alternator has been recharging that battery, and the amp draw on those smaller units isn't significant enough to require its own independent battery. It doesn't pull enough amperage where it's going to make your battery drop out like that.
That's a very small boat then.
Depending up to about 30 foot.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yep.
So you actually thought Glenn was smart there for a second.
Yeah, he's got some good questions.
That was a good question?
Yeah.
It's voltage drop.
It's voltage.
Hey, the first thing when someone has an issue with their thruster, what do we tell them? Load test your battery.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's just whatever.
Okay.
It's all voltage drop. It's all.
So let's take that 30-foot boat. You've completed the installation cost.
Somewhere right around 12,000, all said and done. You're responsible for the haul out, and with the yard, that's between you and whatever yard or marina you choose. Mm-hmm. But we'll come in that 2 to 3 days, full complete, and that 12,000 on a 30-footer, you'd be looking about 12,100, and you go up, a little bit higher in the 30s, about 12,300.
Okay, so I don't want you to badmouth manufacturers. Mm-hmm. That's not what we do on this show. We kind of talk them all up if we can. What products do you use?
We've installed an array of products. So for different OEMs, we install whatever they ask us to install. Our preference on the aftermarket side or OEM would be the Sleipner, which is a rebranded side power. Mm-hmm. So they're out of Norway. They're a very high quality product. Just seem to be built just a little bit better than everybody else. The factory support is phenomenal. Great guys that work up there at the U.S. distribution office for them, and you'll just never find a better group of guys.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, 80% of the boats I do now are side power.
Yep.
So
and the Vetus is a great thruster as well. They're a tried and true brand. They've been around since the '80s. It just, in my personal opinion, I'd go with the Vetus. I mean, the Sleipner.
Yeah, and now I've seen some others, which I won't mention. That boy. get out of the business and go back to
Yeah, you've always got those low ballers that are going to be in the group for the conscious people about the money.
Right.
Well, that was my mistake.
Yeah.
So who's your biggest competition?
Biggest competition, I'd say honestly, we're the largest in the country. We do more than anybody else. We do get some competition from the guys up in the Northeast, New England or East Coast bow thrusters, and they're both great guys. We know Bill very well, and we know Joe over at East Coast very well as well. They do great work. Obviously, not downplaying them at all. But we're the best. We do more than anybody else. So.
That's right. Because again, I know those guys too. They do good work.
Absolutely.
But for some reason, every time I'm in the yards, it's Florida bow thrusters.
That's how we like it.
Yeah, that's. I know. I gotcha. Pays the bills. What's some of the biggest bow thrusters you've ever done?
So back when we first started, we did some hydraulic systems. We did some in that 14, 15 inch range. But with the business model we run, we're in and out. We're there to get the job done, and we're on to the next one. So we stick to the electric thrusters from now. The DC electric. Right now, the largest units we have are 300 millimeter, which is just a hair shy of 12 inches, and they put out about 300 kgf of thrust, which is 660 pounds.
So how big? So are we talking super yacht or?
We're talking up to about 100 feet.
Okay. Who does after 100 feet? What happens there?
Once you get to that size of a boat, you really want a hydraulic thruster into that 14, 16-inch tunnel range, kind of like that. And that requires that...
Because you have to run it constant.
Absolutely.
That's the whole problem.
Yeah.
If that's
hydraulics versus electric. Hydraulics, you got that consistent run time for basically unlimited.
Electric is timed.
Electric, yeah, you got factors.
I've already found that out in the wind.
Yeah, you timed it out. Oh, yeah.
I'll get to this one. Will fit my boat. Nope.
Yeah, so you mean the electric thruster is obviously a thruster is essentially a big starter motor.
Right.
So you're taking a large starter motor that runs from 0 to 3,500 RPMs.
At how many amps?
In the split of a second, yeah, in somewhere between 5 and 800 amps upon initial startup. So you're drawing a lot of power, which is why you want to have a good battery, especially when you get to the larger units. That's why you want to have an independent battery. But like I said, up to 90 plus foot, 48 volt systems are available for that kind of stuff. And actually right now they're working on some larger units where you've got those 400, 500 kgf systems. We're pushing 1,000 pounds of thrust that are going to be comparable for those 110s, those 112s, your Ferrettis, your Westports, those kind of things.
Right. So if I'm looking at the Ferrettis, the Westports, but I'm looking at big boats, super yachts now, right? So I got a nice Trinity, or I got a Fed ship or something like that. Who's installing those?
Those are going to be your major yards, people like Director.
Yeah.
Yeah, those big guys down in Dania and things like that. Gill and Diesel's another big one down in Miami. They do a lot of hydraulic work. They're a great customer of ours, and they do excellent work.
Right. So now people can call Florida Bow Thrusters for parts?
Absolutely, yeah. We have a full-service parts department. Doesn't matter what brand thruster you have. We'll be happy to help you get the parts, get you the tech support, and the service that you need.
Good.
Okay. I'm sorry, but I had a good tip last week, and I forgot it because you interrupted me, but I had my tip for the week.
So don't say it now.
I have to say it now because I'm going to forget it. Like I'm not writing
at the end of the show is the tip of the week.
Then you can edit it. I don't give a fuck.
No.
Anyway.
No, not yet. Just hold that.
Oh,
come on. Let's just finish.
Christ almighty. Listen to a woman.
Oh my
Christ.
God. Okay. So that's why we call him Captain Happy.
Yeah, he's happy, man.
He's out of his mind. So, okay. I don't even know where I was. All right. Give me some funny or horror stories. Anything that comes across your mind that you would say, oh, wow.
Like I said, we do 300 to 400 a year. We've been doing it for over 20 years. So, you're always going to have a mistake here and there. The biggest thing is how you correct it and how you react to it with the customer. We worked with some really high-end customers, people like Enrique Iglesias, Nick Saban, things like that, had their bow thrusters installed by us. Honestly, when we first started way back in the day, we showed up to a marina. There were 2 identical boats sitting right next to each other. You did not. Cut the hole in the wrong boat. Guess what? They got a free bow thruster.
That happened in Remsenburg back in the 90s.
Might have been us.
No. It was electronics. We were selling Sea Ray. So I worked at the Sea Ray dealership in the Hamptons for 10 years. Because it was one of our customers. So, you're just pouring them out. So it was over in a marina in Remsenburg. And they came down because that was like the joke when we used to do surveys. It's the 34 Sea Ray. There's fucking 5 of them.
Yeah.
So the electronics guy came down and he got on the wrong boat and he stole all new electronics. Oh, so it was the wrong boat. They screwed up the slip and this and that, but it was just like one dot, so whatever. Mm-hmm. So the guy said, listen, you give me this, you give me $5,000 or $4, whatever. That's just like half the price. You can have all the electronics. The guy said, no, I'm going to sue you. So the guy said, okay. Took all the electronics off. He says, go through the insurance company. He says, it was the only time I did the insurance. He was going to do him right. He was going to give him all the electronics for half the price.
Yeah.
So how did that one work out?
Oh, I mean, you can't complain with a free $10,000 plus bow thruster at that time.
Where were you the week before I put mine on?
So Glenn and I have been surveying together for about 28 years, and more than once. Because we did a lot of, we still do. We do a lot of trade-in surveys, Marine Max, Formula. We do all their trade-in surveys. And I could tell you, we could pull into a yard at Marine Max, and he's right. There's 30 of the same model boats, right? Yeah. We get on the wrong boat, survey throughout the whole day, done, go home, type the report, and they call me up and they go,
wrong hull number.
Wrong boat. Well, am I getting paid for that one? No, you got to come back. Yeah. We've done that. So I think everybody's done it.
Oh, there was a Grover built at Charlie's. Remember the Grover built when you pulled into the marina? There was a boat on the left, and they had the bow thruster, but you know how the bottom paint comes up, but it was actually like above the waterline. They drilled the hole above that and then mounted it lower.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
Do I need to say that again? Or
No, you're good. All right, yeah. So we've all done that. Surveyed the wrong boat, installed on the wrong boat. It's normal.
Yeah, everybody has a mistake. Like I said, it's the way you correct it and make it right. So,
what's the biggest failure part? I always hear the pin. I always hear what's the biggest failure on a bow thruster?
So usually the biggest failure ends up being due to low battery voltage. Someone has their boat wintered over.
Wait a minute. You just gave Glenn the biggest props. I mean, he's been talking low voltage for the last half hour.
No, you know what? It doesn't come down to that. It comes down to the customer says, I have to spend for another it cost me I bought 230 or 31 batteries to put in my bow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'd have enough power to try to, and then you worry about blowing the fuse. So even though it's like you put enough power, but I'm just saying, it's the batteries are it's quarter of the, whatever.
Yeah, I know what's wrong with it. It doesn't have no gas in it.
So, I mean, we know, but tell the audience what happens with low voltage.
So the low voltage is really the only thing that'll really damage your thruster. And what it damages that solenoid that's on the front of the thruster that tells it which direction to spin. Mm-hmm. You get a thruster with some voltage issue, whether it be a bad connection somewhere along the line or your battery's got a bad cell. You hit that thruster, that solenoid's going to start chattering. Not just a click. It's going to... rapidly, and what that does is that gunks up those contacts, and they'll weld themselves together, and you have the chance of it kicking on in one direction and staying on, or you have the chance of it just getting so dirty it won't even pass electricity through. Wow. So really the biggest thing is just keep those batteries charged up. Make sure when the boat's out of the water, it's on a charger. If it's staying in the slip, keep it on shore power, kind of a thing.
So I got to work a deal with you. So I do damage surveys a lot. I'll give you a list of people, celebrities that we won't name drop here. Mm-hmm. But I got a bunch of celebrities I don't care for so much. So you install the bow thruster, do it a little, wrong, and then I'll go do the damage survey.
Yeah. We don't do anything wrong.
We don't do anything wrong.
No,
Yeah.
sir.
No, and I wouldn't. That's unethical. We wouldn't do that. Like we wouldn't go to Tom Brady's boat and do that, would we?
Nah.
Okay. So, all right, we're getting ready right now to take some phone calls. I see the phones lighting up. So we'll take some phone calls, and we'll do the question and answer segment. And Glenn is reaching for a beer. That's probably his fifth one.
Cheers.
And we will be having the AA meeting here at 6:30. So we'll be doing that.
Let me tell you something. People that drink don't live longer. It just feels that way. Okay? So let's just...
Well, we hope you live a long life, Glenn. We really do. So, okay, that's our call. So I'm going to take this call. Hi, welcome to the Naughty Boys Boat Show. Who am I speaking with, and who's your question for?
I'm Chris from Belrose, and I'd like to ask Mr. Shadbolt a question.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Here
man.
we go. Go ahead.
I've had a couple of beers, so
See what you
before
got,
you
Glenn.
enter the bilge or something, hopefully it's not gas-related or something. This will just be an overview. So how you doing today, sir?
Not bad, not bad. Things are well, but it's difficult to hear you guys. You kind of got an echo.
Oh, well, that's Glenn.
That's me.
Yeah.
It's all them beer cans back there.
He's we're having a good time.
So what is the question
well, I'm
of the
glad to
day?
hear that. I hope I'm having a better time after I get an answer to my question.
Okay.
So I have a couple of, shall we say, they're well-used 454s, Crusaders.
Okay.
About 1,600 hours on them. They've been minored in the past
They're
5
good
or 6
motors because they
years.
lasted 1,600 hours. Let's not talk about the new motors, but go on.
Okay. Maybe I should hang on to them, huh?
Oh, yeah, man.
So, we've put risers on them and manifolds, exhaust manifolds, and actually did valve jobs on them. But when I start the one engine, I get a ticking noise. It's, I don't know if I'd call it mechanical. At first, I thought it kind of sounded like a spark. But it clears up after the engine starts to warm up, and the engine seems to run fine. Any ideas?
Is it very rhythmic at exact
Very
timing
rhythmic.
with the motor?
It's absolutely rhythmic. Yes, if I increase the RPM, it picks up speed, and if
So-
I drop the RPM, it drops the speed.
So if you got
But
an
it
old
does clear up either way.
If you have an old 7.4, you could have exhaust gasket problems. So what happens is, as the motor fires, you hear the tick as it goes through the little gap, and then as it warms up, the manifolds expand and close it up. Which should be, what you do is you stick your finger around, the exhaust to see if you feel heat. If not, the problem is you got to be careful. You don't want to hydraulic the motor. A very small amount of oil, like Marvel Mystery Oil.
Right.
In like an old oil can that you pump, shoot that in the carburetor, and then you might see the smoke come out the exhaust to locate the problem. If not, good luck.
I think he hit it on the head, though. I think you're right. So
Yeah, well, it's definitely worth trying. If you put a little bit of powder around the joint, would that puff out?
The oil and the small amount of oil in the carburetor is the way you really find the problem. And it's not just by the manifold, it's anywhere else in the boat. So, if you make them, you don't want to put too much in, but if you make the motor smoke a lot, you can check your entire exhaust system, which you usually have to do, because if you have a monoxide tester going off, if it's not the station wagon effect, but I'm dragging on. Okay, sir.
No, it
I've
sounds
been
like
drinking, but that's a good start. Call again
Sounds
next
like a
week
great
if it
approach,
doesn't
yeah.
work.
yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully I'm not calling you back on the next show then.
All
Sounds
right.
great, my friend.
Appreciate the call.
Thank you.
Please,
Bye.
please like and follow.
You got it.
Thank you. So, what I would say is this: Florida bow thrusters, the thrusters are motors.
Yes.
What you're talking about are engines. Let's
Engine.
get that straight.
Yeah, you got an electric motor and a
Engine.
combustion engine.
All right, I got another call. Let me get this. Hi, welcome to Naughty Boys Boat Show. Who am I speaking with, and who's your question for?
Hi, my name is Gil. Questions for Greg.
Okay.
Me and my wife are buying a vacation home in Florida, and we're first time boat buyers. We're trying to get into a recreational boat, to stay down there. What would you recommend?
Oh, well, okay. Welcome to Florida. What part you're looking at? Do you know?
We're probably looking either in the Lauderdale area
Okay.
or maybe even Delray.
Okay, so definitely not a super yacht for you, though. But anyway, recreational. Okay, so what I recommend is this, Gilly. First of all, you a fisherman? Do you like to fish?
No, just like to kind of cruise around and hang out.
Ah, sandbar guy, right?
Wine and cheese.
Yep.
Yeah, wine and
Yep.
cheese. Good. So I'm going to tell you this, and people may be shocked what I'm about to say, but if you're looking to put your family on it and you're not doing ocean fishing and you're doing the intercoastal or the rivers, believe it or not, the pontoon boats today, they're phenomenal. So we rented one recently. We had 12 people on that thing,
Right.
and it had all the amenities. Great sound
Really?
system
Okay.
too. Yeah. So
Great.
don't discount the pontoon boats. My second choice would be one of the like a Boston Whaler, right? So Boston Whaler makes
Right.
a decent hybrid. They make a boat that you can fish a little bit, you can get in a little cabin, you can get away from the sun. They got these models now, all these hybrids with the bow, open bow, and they got a little cabin. They got the back for fishing. So Boston Whaler
Right.
makes them. Formula makes them. So
Okay.
and Sea Ray makes them. So what I would say to you is, one, look into pontoon boats, and two, when you look at Formula, Sea Ray, Boston Whaler, etc., look at
Yep.
the hybrids. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You got it.
And you definitely want an outboard.
Yeah. Okay, great. I'm glad you told me that. Thank you.
All right, Gilly. Thanks, and please subscribe and listen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
Bye.
The last wine and cheese broad I had on my boat put a high heel through a boat cushion. They're not working. Shoes off.
All right, I got another call. Let's take this one. Hi, welcome to Naughty Boys Boat Show. Who am I speaking with, and who's your question for?
This is Skip, and my question is for Ian.
How you doing, Skip?
My question is, are the thrusters able to integrate with multifunctional displays like a Garmin or a Raymarine?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some newer technology out now with your proportional thrusters or your variable speed thrusters where we can integrate those into a NEMA 2000 network, get the display on your screen. You can integrate it into your joystick system for your outboards or your Volvo pods, anything like that. And it's just the proportional systems are a slight upgrade from the standard system as far as cost wise, but all the features you get out of them are extremely worth it.
Wow, that's good to know.
Yeah.
All right. Did we answer your question?
Yes, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right. Please remember to subscribe, like, and follow.
Thanks, Skip.
Bye.
Thanks, Skip. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
They integrate.
Yeah. So you can with the smart systems.
The
that
joystick. You got
the smart systems you have now. Everybody wants to use the joystick docking system, whether you got Mercury's or Volvos or the C-Star system. And
Do you
we
have
can-
the G3?
the G3?
Do you go into the Mercury? Do you do the Mercury systems?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those new 600s. We do that under that new.
Oh, so the deal then does the whole.
Correct. So what we do is we'll put the thruster in, we'll put the gateway in, so it talks to the NEMA 2000 network.
You run the cable.
And then from there, Mercury has to come in with their software and do all the programming to tell it what to do at what level the joystick is at.
Right. And Glenn said it. You just run the cable.
Yeah.
I don't do the computer
Just
stuff.
just run the
Just
cable.
run the cable.
That's all you
know?
got to do. Just run the
Just
cable.
run it where nobody can see it. You know?
Okay. We got
I had
another.
problems on a 30 Allura, much less it. Can't even do the bow lights on a Sea Ray. Like, I got to pull the interior.
We got
apart. It's
another
like-
call. Let me grab this. Hi, welcome to Naughty Boys Boat Show. Who am I speaking with, and who's your question for?
Hi, this is Nick. My question's for Ian. I have a 30-foot center console, and I'm wondering if my bow thruster should have its own battery.
So good question. Thank you for calling, Nick. Actually, on that size of a boat, you really don't need your own independent battery unless you feel that it's necessary. Typically, in our situation, we'll tie it into a engine start battery. So anytime you're using that thruster, your motors are still on. You probably have twins or triples. Those alternators are recharging that starting bank.
Okay.
And you'll never have to worry about that.
Nice.
Good. So did we answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, Nick.
That's good to know.
All right. Thank you so much for the call in. And please follow, like, subscribe. And anytime you want to call in, we're here for you.
Got it.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you. So really good information. We're getting to that time of the show that we got to kind of wrap things up. So any final advice, anything you want to add?
Yeah, just like I said, we've been doing it longer than anybody else. We do more thrusters than anybody else in the world. You give us a call, we're going to show up when we do. We're going to stick to our promises, and we're here for you. After the sale, a lot of the times you get a thruster guy that will put your thruster in, might do a good job at the time, and then you have an issue 6 months down the road, and you can't get him to pick up the phone.
Like Glenn.
Yeah, just like Glenn. Yeah.
I put my own. I can get myself on the phone. I just don't call myself.
This guy's a marine
It's
mechanic.
not an issue. It works. That's not the issue. Well, anyway, that's my tip. So go on. Go on.
Okay, here's the problem. Glenn put his own in, and he won't answer his own call.
Who, Shadbolt? Where? He owes me money. Where? Fucking...
So, okay, this has been a good show. All right, so we like to end the show with a tip. So I got a tip this week. My tip is don't be a hero. Use your bow thruster.
That's a good tip.
Yeah. So, okay, Shadbolt, what's yours? You've been dying to get it out.
So no, because I'm supposed to do the mechanics. So anyway, I found a bow thruster that would move the cheapest one I could find that would move a 30-foot boat. Well, if the wind's blowing, it's not working, even though I put every battery in. And not yet, but you can either pay the bow thruster guy or you can pay the fiberglass guy when it doesn't work. So
Right.
don't cheap out on the batteries because your motor's stalled. Don't cheap out.
Do it right.
Yes, sir.
Just somebody who goes on his boat all the time and is a horrible captain, don't cheap out on the bow thruster.
Call Florida bow thrusters.
And call here next week if you got a problem with that, because I can just...
He's an expert now.
I'm an expert. I know. Hey.
Hey, Ian, if you're hiring.
yeah. Hey.
No.
What tip you got for us?
A lot of times people say, why'd you put a bow thruster in? My biggest answer is because I can.
Right.
Because I can, Well, you got a lot of people. We do them from anywhere from 20 foot up to 90 to 100 foot. The 20-foot guys are just as happy as the 90-foot guys. Yeah. It's all about alleviating your stress. You bought the boat to enjoy it. Yeah. Docking is typically the most stressful part of owning a boat. So why not alleviate those concerns? Just give us a call. We'll help you out.
Yeah, don't have to give the guy next to me my insurance card.
Absolutely.
That's all. That's what I'm saying.
That's his tip.
Do I pay you or pay the fiberglass guy? It's like, you know what? I got
his
it
tip.
one more time.
A thruster install can save you an insurance claim multiple times.
Yeah, so. It's docking is a controlled crash.
It is, absolutely.
So,
I tell people that all the time.
Right. So with a thruster, you're controlling it better. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I would say. Okay, so again, we'd definitely like to thank our guest Ian from Florida Bow Thrusters. Great company. I've been around 28 years surveying boats. These guys are the best. So definitely, if you're interested or you have a problem with yours, definitely give them a call.
And we appreciate that. Likewise, you're one of the best surveyors we've had to deal with over the course of our business. So we appreciate you as well.
Awesome, thank you. And just to plug myself, I'm gonna let you know that I am surveying down here in Southeast Florida. Same number, 772-773-2600. So we're glad, and we're glad to work with you guys. So,
absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Captain Greg.
Yep. So okay, so I'd like to thank producer Micah Murley and our production assistant Samantha. Really, really great job, guys. Thank you so much. And I'm
happy. I am Captain Happy. Just not a captain. I'm just happy. Just go on, move on. And
you look like a seal at SeaWorld. His flipper.
Pat in the belly.
Okay. All right, so please hit that subscribe, follow, or like button, and please tune in next Thursday and every Thursday for the Naughty Boys Boat Show. Every week we will have exciting guests and informative news. May you have fair winds, following seas, and tight lines. God bless you, everybody.